on the basis of their fabric. Now, what's a fabric in case of coins? A fabric is where you have the size, the shape, the thickness, the design, and the workmanship. This all in total counts as a fabric. Now, they also look at the design, they also look at the techniques of manufacture, and they also look at the iconography, something which we as artists or I as a budding art historian would also look at. Then they also look at another key thing which also interests people of another allied discipline of history, which is an epigraphist. So they also look at the message content, the inscriptions in the coin. Now, there are certain methods how you can check whether a coin is an antique piece or whether it is a counterfeit or whether it is, faked by a modern chap. So you can do is what you can do is you take the coin and you drop it on the floor. You would hear a sound. If the sound is dense and if the sound has a certain parameter which the numismatist analyze, then that dropping of the coin would signify, okay, it has a good quantity of metal. Firstly, these are like a very informal techniques which I am talking about. And then the second technique, which I won't recommend you all to do it, is what numismatists do is biting the coin to test its ductility, to test if the coin is made of good metal, because good metal won't break if you bite it. It would certainly hurt your teeth. Mm, Now, what are the formal modern methods which numismatists do these days? One is the water displacement test, which I guess some of you might have done as a part of your physics or physics practical in your 9th and 10th if you are in India, because I certainly did that. So what you do is you place the piece of metal in a beaker, and then that beaker has a snout kind of a thing, which displaces a certain quantity of water into another beaker. So by measuring this whatever content is lost from the principal beaker and how much the water is displaced, they calculate the density of the metal which is present in the coin. Another method they apply is a chemical procedure, are different kinds of chemical procedure. Some are acid test, some are some kinds of different electro testing and all, which which uh, which uh, which which help them um, to get the chemical content of the coin. But then but then these are invasive methods. This is a very invasive method. It would certainly damage the coin. This is only applicable when you have a particularly large number of coins for a particular hoard. And then there is another very modern method which, you know, numismatists of our times use, is the X-ray fluorescence spectrometry or XRF method, which is used uh, to shoot high frequency waves and high frequency waves on the coin, and everything can we get out of that machine. We get the dates, we get the content, we get the density, we also get if there is any remarking or a restruct thing on the coin. Then another term which you need to know is die. What is a die? Die is a piece of metal or a piece of uh, good, high quantity metal, which is used to punch the coin. So I guess these are the terms which would help you to understand what I would talk further. Now, in different places, across the world in the post-Neolithic farming societies up till the coming of the Iron Age, humans used bovine animals as mediums of exchange. For instance, in Rig Veda 4.24.10 talks about a sale deed where the price of the image of Indra was termed to be 10 cows, but it is a rather rhetorical statement, as is the next line of the Sukta. The seller wants the buyer to return the image when the real Indra has defeated the buyer's enemy. This questions the fact that 10 cows in such a low price for such a mighty god and is not a big thing. Then what do the writers complain about? The writers complain about the stinginess of mundane human purchases. Since bovine animals cannot be used for physical spaces of trade, especially long distance trade, as the medium of physical, as the medium of bovine animals like cows, like buffaloes, like goats, needs a physical space and has to be nurtured and cared upon for the upkeeping of capital and for the upkeeping of wealth. Humans started to use various metals as mediums of exchange as they were very handy, required less care after this experimentation with the bovine animals. Now, in Greece, you could see that people used meat sticks, which in which they were grilling their meat. They used to exchange those iron sticks, which are known as oblos. Uh, and then, in case of our subcontinent, you would find uh, textual references in the Vedas, uh, in which you would there is a mention of rounded coin-like structures or mounded structures which are known as Hiranyapind or Nishkas. Now, the beginnings of modern coinage as we know it today in the world is generally attributed by classic Western historians to the Lydians, a kingdom located in the Anatolian region, modern day Turkey, and especially the coins of Croesus, a man who ruled this area from 560 to 546 BC. Now, these coins are in gold and in electrum, a naturally occurring alloy which is found in the nearby areas. But the modern day numismatists and historians have argued that the coin making as a process had been sort of general emergence in the world in and around the 6th century BC with the developments in the techniques of metallurgy and smelting and with the rise of city states, new political setups, emergence of long distance trade routes and others. So there are three basic coinage systems that can be attributed based on the studies of the scholars. The Western system with its Mesopotamian and Persian lineages, the Indian and the Chinese system. Now, this is the example of what is attributed by Western scholars as the world's first coin made in Lydia. This is made out of electrum. You would find in the obverse, which is on the left-hand side of the screen, two square incuse marks, which are, generally debatable amongst the scholars as the banker's mark. And this is the famous coin which I was talking about, the Lydian gold coin of Croesus. You have the lion, the bull as its motifs. Now, this is what the ancient Chinese coin looks like. It's part of the third tradition, in which it's known as Banliang. What does Banliang mean? Banliang means half an ounce. And this is what it's written on the obverse side, Ban and Lian. So in between that, you would find a square. What does that square symbolizes, and how it is used? This the square, it symbolizes the belief, the central Chinese belief that Earth is square and the heaven around it, which is the boundary of the coin, is round. Symbolize.
Arijit ji, we are running out of time.
Am I again?
Yes.
So till when am I supposed to speak?
We have 10 minutes left.
Oh, it's a 10 minutes for the meeting to get down, right?
We can rejoin again.
Okay, 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 okay. So, so there is uh, a technological ease as well, which you can see in this coin, apart from the belief system, which I was talking about a couple of minutes ago. Then, uh, what is the technological system? You insert a square or rowing object, and then you polish it around the coin so the coin looks pretty and good. So these coins were some of the earliest coins which you would find in China, which was attributed to obviously the first emperor of about whom you would hear a lot, Qin Shi Huangdi. And it's after him that it's believed China is named on Qin, from there China. So this is the earliest Greek coin, which is part of the Western tradition, the Sphinx coin. And notice on the reverse side, you would have 4 infused marks. So these are all the bankers' marks which you could look for. Then the early, then let's get back to our country. The earliest use of monetary terms in Indian subcontinent can be traced back to its oldest known compilation of literature, the Vedas itself, particularly the Rig Veda, where the precursor of coins, simple metallic pieces known as Hiranya Pinda. Hiranya meaning metal. Then in the later Vedic period, you would realize that the term Hiranya is attributed to gold, but in the early Vedic periods, it was attributed to metal, generally metal. But the most common term which you would come across in the Vedas is Nishka. In Rig Veda, Rishi Kakshivat described how he obtained 10 horses and 10 Nishkas from King Bhavya. The earliest term to used for these transactions in Vedic corpus of literature was known as man. Man means a unit. Uh, and they are generally arranged in a conjunction system of 12, 14, 30, 40, 70, and 100. This range would, however, make us think that it's a weight system, but sadly, there is no definite mention of it in the text. However, Shatman, or 100 units, was a round metallic piece of coin that has a definite mention in Shatpad Brahman. Now, one thing which seems certain from all this is that coins have to have a definite weight. The earliest and the only reference of using weighting devices in Vedic corpus of literature comes from the Taittiriya Brahmana, where a Krishnala of equivalent weight in metal was given to each participant in the chariot race at the time of Rajasuya sacrifice. Thus, Krishnala, or Ab- Abrus precatorius, is the basic seed for weighing items of smaller quantities. In the later period, it is also known as Raktika or Gunja, which we popularly know today as Ratti. There is a term in Hindi where we want to have terrible rage and accuse somebody, and then we say, "Arey tum mein to ratti bhar ki bhi izzat nahi hai." So that rati symbolizes that small unit of weighing metals of importance. And this is how a rati looks like. In South India, however, in the later periods, the standard for weighing coins was calculated on the basis of relationship between two kinds of beans, manjari and kalanju. This proves that although there was not a type of minted coin in Vedic period, but people were experimenting and using archetypal coins, which were just plain pieces of metal or blanks. Also, the advent of coinage did not mean in the later periods that the barter would disappear. It certainly coexisted for a very long time. The Ashtadhyayi, or the bestseller grammarian Panini, is veritably dated from the 6th century BC to the 3rd century BC, mentions that metallic pieces of fixed weight were stamped ahata with roop symbols of dice trucks. Panini uses the term karshapana or shana for these pieces. One thing to note here is that coins of definite weight and value systems were well in use prior to Panini, which makes him right about this. Now, if we follow this line of thought, then our system of coinage, if responsibly pushed, took its nascent shape well into the 7th century BCE. This makes it decades senior than the Lydian and the Chinese counterparts. The earliest tangible archaeological proof of metallic coins in the Indian subcontinent comes to us in the form of punchmark coins of the 16 Majanpadas. And the earliest artistic depiction of the usage of coins comes from Bharut. See, this is where the Jetavana episode is being described in the Bharut railing, where you see Anath Pindika in the center holding that snouted vessel, trying to offer water to Buddha, who is depicted here in an aniconic form, in a non-human form, in the tree and the railing thing. So that's the Buddha there in the center. And then Anathapindika purchased this Jetavana garden or orchid from a very greedy chap. So he wanted that the entire floor of the garden should be lined down with coins, and that was his price for what he could sell that land. So if I zoom in, I can see, if I can zoom in, uh, if you could see this thing, then you could realize that these are nothing but coins which are being laid out. So this is the first depiction of coins in art. Then uh, when I come back to the tangible sources, we have what is known as the 16 punchmark coins from the Majanpada. And as the name suggests, these coins were made using a technique that is explained wonderfully in Kautilya's Arthashastra, in a passage where a counterfeiter of coin known as Scooter Upakaraka possesses certain tools to do his job. There, Kautilya provides a list of things which are used to make a coin. A logical process can be deduced from it. First, the metal is molted in crucibles, musha, treated with alkali, shara.
1 minute is left, so we'll rejoin again.
Yup.
1 minute is left.
Yeah. So we'll
We'll rejoin
rejoin.
again.
Yeah. Hmm. Same process which Kautilya is describing, that you first pour the melted metal into a crucible and treat it with alkalis and then beat it into sheets on an anvil by using a hammer, which is known as mushtika, cut it into small pieces with clippers, and then lastly stamp or punch using dies having the symbol Bimbatanka. Now, to our amazement, we can see That similar, if we can observe carefully, similar process in its mechanized form on a much larger scale is used across the modern winds of the world prevalent today. So you can think how much the ancient Indians were, you know, were going, and how how advanced they were in metallurgy and all sorts of stuffs like that. So some of them, some of the coins were made with by using another method, which is by pouring certain fixed amount of metal from the crucible into a flat surface, and that blob was flattened and finally punched with symbols. The coin, which is most often mentioned in the Arthashastra and other Buddhist texts of the later period, is the Pana, which is subdivided as follows: 16 mashakas to a Pana, 4 kaknis to a mashaka, and then one uh, and 4 kaknis to a mashka. The coinage in circulation during that period was silver coins of 1/2 quarter, 1/8 of a pana, and copper coins of 1 mashaka, half a mashaka, 1 kakani, half a kakani. So, half a kakani looks this much. It's this much small coin. So you can imagine how how the means of transactions were classified, and how it was all arranged in that point of time. So later the equation in the Gupta period turned out to be 16 silver coins to 1 gold coin, which we, I don't say we, let's say our grandparents or people of the older generations knew 16 आने में 1 रुपया होता है. So that equation has stayed still. So you can see how the past is correlating with the present. Although Kautilya in this source was talking about the imperial Magadhan punchmark coins mostly, the punchmark coins of northern India can be divided into 4 strands mostly. The into 4 main series on the basis of 4 main series on the basis of the weight, the number, the nature of punch marks, and their area of circulation. The Takshashila Gandhar type, just a minute, I'll show you a map. It's this one, yeah. So you see in this map the whole expanse of punchmark coins which were prevalent in some of the biggest of the 16 margin products. So the Takshashila Gandhar type in the northwest, uh, with a heavy weight standard and a single punch type, which you can see is that simple small blob elliptical on the top corner. This is the one. And then you have the Kosala or the Middle Gangetic Valley with a heavyweight standard and multiple punch marks. This is the Kosala one, multiple punch marks and all that. And then you have the Avanti, which is a Western Indian with lightweight standard, single punch marks and all that. And of course, you have the Magadhan type with a lightweight standard and multiple punches. This is the Magadhan type. You can see there are a lot. This is one of the earliest coins, one of the earliest punchmark coins, which is from the Gandhar region, obviously, which is known as the T-bent bar coin. It was very popular. You can find it in all the archaeological reports of the early, 20th century and the later half of the 19th century as well. So these coins were largely made up of silver, few in copper with symbols on the obverse side and few markings on the reverse side, which has been postulated by scholars like Hardacre P.L. Gupta, and others as banker's mark. Now, an interesting thing to note is the studies of G.D. Kosambi, who argued that in some coins which had sort of an imperfect round shape were cut as square coins first, and uh, then as a result of normal wear and tear, they led to the change of the shape of these coins. Kosambi also postulated his path-breaking analysis known as the weight system theory by doing a statistical analysis of punch mark coins found in the coin hoards. He argued that every 12 years, one reverse mark was added on the reverse frame of the coin. It lost around zero point 0.2 grams of weight of its principal weight in the cycle. Thus, by counting the number of reverse marks on the frame on the reverse side, he tried to calculate the circulation span of coins in a particular geographic area. This theory, although has its limitation, but had changed the numismatics towards a more scientific, towards a more theory-oriented approaches. Now, scholars have also noted that there was an inter-Janpada trade which was facilitated by these coins. In this system, money changers or shroffs played a key role, as we mostly do not find large quantities of coin on a particular Janpada in another Janpada. Michael Michener in 1973 classifies punch mark coins in basically two standards on the basis of weight: the lightweight standard known as the Karshapana, 32 Rati units, and the heavyweight standard known as the Shatmana, the 100 units. The new issues of punchmark coins were stopped till the first century BC, but they were well in use until the next four or possibly 5 centuries in different parts of the subcontinent, especially in peninsular India. The second type of coin which we find on the basis of minting techniques is the cast coin, which can be of an inscribed or uninscribed variety. Majorly, these coins are of copper. They were made using clay molds, in which circular rounded chambers carrying the symbols of the obverse and reverse side were there. So this is the Magadhan imperial coin which I was talking about moments ago. And this is what I wanted to show you all. This was, excavated from a very near site, a very near place to Delhi known as Rohtak. So this is the coin mold which I was talking about, and this is the coin which you get from this mold. It's of the Yodhayas. So in Rohtak, such molds were found intact, stick with the coins. In Aran, a bronze mold was also found. In Mathura, Shishupalgarh, Kondapura, Sunet, Kashi, Takshila show that cardinal tenet metal was poured. Metal was.
Arijit ji, can you please conclude?
I can, yes.
We are senior citizens because.
Yeah. I'll take another 10-15 minutes to go on, if that's all right.
Okay, please.
Yeah. The second type, this is the map of the coin mints which was found, and this is the mold which I was talking about. You fill up the coin from the top, and we come to the third technique of minting coins, which is known as the die-struck coins, which is generally thought to be brought about by the Indo-Greeks, but that notion was also shattered by modern numismatists uncovered, who encountered the Satavahana and the Kushana coins during their excavations. And this is the Kushana coin, which shifted our whole focus, and they realized that die-struck coin was very much uh, going around in the subcontinent much before the Indo-Greeks even had started their thing in the subcontinent. So, this is the Satavahana coin. The Satavahanas had another credit. They had a very multi-metallic system which they were using. So they had brought what is known in the modern terms as money economy in the India. And then this is where we reach the climax of die-struck coins, in which we find this charismatic man on the left with his abs and all. He is Samudragupta. He is relaxing, playing his veena, and then we find on the reverse side, on the right hand side of the screen, Lakshmi carrying a basket of plenty bountiful things and a diadem on her left hand. So this is where I wanted, these two images are where I wanted to conclude what I want to say, is that coins can give you a lot of things in what you have already learned from what I was talking for the past hour or more than that. It can give you political maneuvers. It could give you ideas of the rulers, ideas of the society, metallurgy, and a level of other things, in which you can see this silver dirham of Mahmud of Ghazni, who is generally attributed as as a very level-headed person, as a invader who invaded Somnath and all, and who created a havoc in the early medieval times, trying to translate and trying to reach to the Indian public with a Sharda script on the reverse side, which describes the Kalima in Sanskrit. Avyaktam Ekam Muhammad Avatar Nipati Mahmud. So that's how he expresses himself. So that's how you can understand where the political ideas of the past of the rulers, how they were trying to reach to the public, which with such a small object and coin, and how these were, taken down in the public memory is a matter of great research, and things are going around in this field as well. Now, this is where our modern paper currency or paper banknote generates. This is from the Ming period in 1375 China, where you can see in the center of this, which would likely look as a writing, but it's not. It's a piece of 1,000 coins stuck together, which are struck, which are strung together. See, which are strung together like this. You can see this clearly now. So a bearer was given a strung thousands of the banliang, which I was mentioning couple of slides back. So a bearer was given, when he produced this note, he was given 1,000 banliang in exchange. And then there were other inscriptions as well noted on this note, and that if you refuse to take this note, you would certainly get cut off. And this is also what Marco Polo mentions in his travels in the Kublai Khan's domain and in the Ming China period. So that's how people accepted the paper currency, and that's where our coins start to get deviated. Although coins are very much used in the modern day period, and that's where the concept of fiat money or a legal tender money comes from. It's from China itself. So that's how I would say I had posited a lot of things. You all should think about it, and you all should appreciate that past is not in black and white squares of chessboard. Past is rather a great thing which has a lot of silences, a lot of very different aspects attached to it. So 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 you need to appreciate all this before approaching a particular piece of history, and then it is known as, it's not only history but histories of a history which we need to look. Thank you.
Arijit ji, Thank you very much. It was a very nice talk. And now, Shambhuji, please present a certificate of appreciation to Arijit ji for his brilliant talk on the subject of coins. We thank you
Thank,
for your talk
thank
from
you,
the core
thank
of
you,
our heart.
thank you. I also
Maybe
thank
like
you
this, we'll
all.
present it to you when we meet physically.
Yeah, yeah, sure. And I thank you all for patiently listening to me.
We can't hear your voice.
I thank you all for patiently listening to me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was a very nice talk, very informative. So we'll give this to you physically when we meet.
Sure, sure, sure,
So now we'll
sure.
go to the next level, next session, that is